In the late 12th century, the Baltic edge of Europe was still one of the last big regions outside Latin Christianity. Along the coasts and rivers lived peoples such as the Livs, Latgalians, Estonians, Old Prussians, Samogitians, and Lithuanians. They had their own gods, rituals, and political leaders. To church officials in Rome and to nearby Christian princes, this zone looked like both a mission field and a frontier for trade and power. From this mix of faith and ambition came the Baltic, or Northern Crusades. The first major focus was Livonia, covering much of today's Latvia and Estonia. German missionaries arrived in the 1200s and tried to preach peacefully, but they were few and faced strong resistance. In the year 1201, the city of Riga was founded as a base for mission and commerce. 1 year later, Bishop Albert created a military order to support the church by force. These warriors, the Livonian Brothers of the Sword, joined other crusaders from Germany and Denmark and began conquering territory along the Daugava River and beyond. Crusading in the Baltic had its own style. Armies moved through tangled forests, lakes, and marshes, and winter could freeze rivers into roads. Because supply lines were fragile, castles mattered more than in many southern wars. A stone fortress secured a crossing or port, stored food and weapons, and served as a base for raids. When a castle went up, settlers and priests followed, and local communities were pressured to accept baptism and pay tribute. Some converted sincerely, others did so to buy time, and many rebelled once crusaders tightened control. Fighting soon spread north into Estonia. Danish crusaders captured Tallinn in the year 1219, while German knights and bishops divided other areas into new Christian provinces. Control was never smooth. Local uprisings flared again and again, showing that baptism did not always mean loyalty. Still, by the middle of the 13th century, most of Livonia and Estonia were under Christian rule, tied into Western Europe through new towns, church networks, and trade that connected the Baltic to the wider Hanseatic world. At the same time, a different order was rising to power in the south. The Teutonic Order began during the Third Crusade as a hospital brotherhood for German pilgrims in the Holy Land, and then became a full military order recognized by the Pope. After setbacks in the eastern Mediterranean, the knights searched for a new battlefield. Duke Conrad of Masovia in Poland, struggling against raids by pagan Prussians, invited them to help. In the year 1226, Emperor Frederick II issued the Golden Bull of Rimini, backing the order's right to conquer and rule in Prussian lands. From the 1230s onward, the Teutonic Knights launched the Prussian Crusade. They advanced step by step from the Vistula River toward the sea, raising a chain of castles to lock in each gain. Marienburg, built on the Nogat River, later became their massive capital. The old Prussian tribes resisted fiercely and staged major uprisings, especially in the middle of the 13th century. Yet the order had steady reinforcements from Germany and strong financial support from Europe. By the end of that century, Prussia had been conquered and reorganized into a monastic state, ruled by the knights, with new towns and German settlers reshaping the region. A turning point in the north came in the year 1236. The Livonian Brothers of the Sword were crushed by Samogitian forces at the Battle of Saul. Their order was shattered, and in 1237, the survivors were absorbed into the Teutonic Order as the Livonian Order. This linked the northern and southern crusading fronts. One system of castles, annual campaigns, and colonization now stretched from Prussia through Livonia, giving the Teutonic Knights unmatched reach across the Baltic. With Prussia under control, the Teutonic Order faced its toughest opponent, Lithuania and the Samogitian borderlands. Lithuania was no longer a loose cluster of tribes. It was a growing state that could unite many peoples and field large armies. But it remained pagan, which let the order portray every war as a crusade. Almost every year in the 14th century, knights from Germany, France, England, and elsewhere joined seasonal expeditions, called Reisen, to raid Lithuanian territory. Lithuanian forces struck back with their own raids, and the frontier became a harsh cycle of attacks, counterattacks, and new fortifications. In the late 14th century, religion and politics shifted the balance. In the year 1386, the Lithuanian Grand Duke Jogaila accepted Latin Christianity, married the Polish queen Jadwiga, and became King Władysław II Jagiełło of Poland. This created a Polish-Lithuanian union and made Lithuania officially Christian. The Teutonic Order argued that the conversion was only political and kept demanding Samogitia, claiming the frontier was still not truly converted. As a result, the conflict was no longer mainly about faith. It became a struggle over territory, influence, and who would lead the Baltic world. That rivalry erupted into the Great War of 1409 to 1411. Poland and Lithuania gathered a huge coalition to break Teutonic power, while the order called in its own allies from the west. On 15 July 1410, the armies met near the villages of Grunwald and Tannenberg. It was one of the largest battles of medieval Europe. After hours of hard fighting, the Polish-Lithuanian forces won decisively. The Teutonic Grand Master, Ulrich von Jungingen, was killed, and much of the order's leadership fell with him. The knights held their capital at Marienburg, but the Peace of Thorn in 1411 forced major concessions. Grunwald did not end the order overnight, yet it destroyed its aura of invincibility and stopped its expansion. Over the next decades, Poland-Lithuania became the dominant power in the region. Looking back from the first crusading castles in Livonia to the battlefield of 1410, the Baltic Crusades show how conquest, conversion, and state-building transformed Northern Europe, and how one summer day at Grunwald marked the turning point.